Hello, friends. This is Spencer Love, your host of Over the Top Rope on the Win Column Sports Network. Don't forget you can head to wincolumnsports.ca for all of your previews, reviews, and breaking news from the world of wrestling, be it your major promotions or from the great province of Alberta, Canada.
This is your main man RJ from the Ringside Rant, heard only on the Visionaries Wrestling Network. So go over and subscribe across all your major platforms, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher to hear every great interview I have every Monday on the Visionaries Wrestling Network. Go over and follow the show's page on Twitter @_Ringside Rant. Follow the network's page @BizWrestleNet. And, as always, embrace the vision.
If you like podcasts and you are listening to them on Backbreaker Media, then you should listen to me, Chris Parrish,
and myself, Maniah,
and the Sounds of Struggle, because we are literally the most entertaining duo you'll ever come across in Western Canadian wrestling, baby.
We talk about things like wrestling
and other sports we like.
Wrestling.
But we won't talk about other sports that we don't like, because it's not that kind of podcast.
Like wrestling.
I mean, we like hockey.
And wrestling.
And we like football.
And wrestling.
And we also like to drink beer.
While wrestling.
Well, not while wrestling, but while watching wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want to get into a conversation with Maniac and Chris Parrish, then you need to tune into the Sounds of Struggle live on Backbreaker Media.
Every Thursday.
Is when we hope to drop, but sometimes Mike Malawany doesn't do his job right.
Or we're too drunk to forget.
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
He can bleep out the swear word, because we weren't supposed to do that.
Oh,
but
I'll try not to swear. I can't do it.
Yeah. Let's face it, the two of us, we're real.
And spectacular.
And we're a little bit of all right.
Yeah.
Well, so strugglicious.
That we are.
That was kind of the cue. Supposed to be a strugglicious.
Oh, sorry, I'm drunk.
Yeah. So, if you don't want to listen to us, then no, you're stupid, because we're entertaining. And if you want to listen to us, then come listen to us on Backbreaker Media.
Yeah.
Later,
he said.
Later, bitches.
Is it working? On?
Looks like it.
I think.
I think so.
My heart rate monitor.
No, that's every time I'm calling shows.
Oh! Heart rate is up. Heart rate is up. Oh, gosh.
Another swig of beer and we're on our way here, folks.
Or did you start?
Oh, yeah, it's been started for like 15 seconds already.
Good thing I didn't start talking crap about Jack Pride.
I would. How many ways do you want me to?
Okay. Well, anyways, I guess we get started up here. Welcome to Double Down Wrestling Podcast with KJ. And, of course, we have Mike the Ref here today. Hello, Mike.
Our deepest condolences to Mr. Spencer Love, who is unable to make it here today. It's something about an albatross and a whizzle and a shizzle.
Or he just has a big boy job.
I wouldn't call it that.
Watching hockey is a big boy job?
Well, it's a little bit more than that, but...
Well, I mean, do what you got to do, right?
Anyway, welcome to episode 6. On this episode, we'll be talking a little bit of Raw, a little bit of SmackDown. Finally get to talk a little bit about the Mixed Match Challenge.
Damn Canadians.
And then, of course, the Mae Young Classic. My goodness. Folks, this is going to be a fun podcast, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, it was interesting. Especially after the weekend we had. Super busy.
Yeah,
lots of wrestling.
Absolutely. You want to talk about what happened this weekend?
I was down in Calgary. I had a triple threat. Absolutely insane match. And then I wrestled also on Saturday.
Whoa.
What?
You're going to glaze over the match, and then you're not going to talk about what happened after the match? in Calgary?
Like after the show or after the match?
After the match in Calgary.
Oh, okay. So I won. I retained my title against Jasmine and Angelica. And let me just say, that was probably my favorite match I have ever had. And then afterwards, we got to brawl, like legit brawl. And it was the funnest I've ever had. Ever, like in wrestling. That was for about a good 10 minutes. And I got to throw some popcorn in Angelica's face.
Well, folks, if you get a chance, check out some of the Smiling Moose photography photos. They have I do believe they have a picture of a cookie sheet being hit. I believe Angelica was hitting you with a cookie sheet.
No, it was Angelica hit me with, so at one point I threw popcorn in her face and it was in a basket. And then she took the same basket and hit me, but it was actually a pizza pan, and Jasmine was going around hitting everything with two legs and just going crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane. And let me just say, I got a black eye from that show, and every joint on my body hurt the next day. I could barely move, and I'm like, I have to wrestle again tonight. What a life. But then I was like, you know what? I would not change a damn thing. It was the best thing ever.
Well, all I could say is I normally haven't been asking for RCW video, but I definitely want to see that match.
Yeah, it's actually up on YouTube. Just Google it up. It was on, oh my God, what day was that? What day was Friday?
It was the 21st.
Okay, yeah, so just Google Real Canadian Wrestling and September 21st, and it'll be up there. I've already creeped myself. Usually it takes me about a month to watch one of my matches back, and I was like, no, I got to watch this one right now. And I shared it. I sent it to Angelica already. She was happy about it. But the one thing though that got me from that night, and sorry, Jack Pride, I have to tell this story because it made me so it made me laugh. So after the show, we go out to the floor and the crowd is dispersing. And I go on one of my little cousins actually was there. She watched me wrestle for the first time. She's 4 years old. No, 4 years old? She's 5.
She's young.
Sorry, she is young. She's under the age of 10. She's never watched me wrestle. I go and say hi to her, and all of a sudden, Jack Pride comes running up to me, and he's mad at me. He's so mad at me. He's like, why did you leave me alone? Why did you leave me alone? Mr. Pride had one of his first ever, 2 girls cornered him after this show, and he blamed it on me because I left him alone. And he's a nice guy, and he didn't want to say no.
Wait. 2 girls cornered him, and he was worried about this?
Traumatized. And he blamed it on me because I left him alone.
Mr. Pride, with all God-given respect, the hell is your problem? I'll gladly trade you spots for that one, because I'm pretty sure I know the caliber of woman you'll pick up.
He was just not having it, and he was not happy with me, and that made my entire night. And I was thinking about it this afternoon because it made me laugh so hard. But he was blaming it on me, and I've never seen him that frazzled, so I just had to bring it up. My partner in crime, the poor guy, he gets the female attention, and he freaks out.
I'd be freaking out too, but the other way. What the hell?
Yeah. But that was one of the main events of the weekend, was that right there.
Well, then, speaking of that, you also had a match on Saturday in the semi-main event at CWC Shattered.
I did. I did not win, but that's okay. My title was not on the line. Different promotion. So I was good to go.
You did have a bit of a standing ovation following the match from most of the patrons there.
Just to it's so hard to explain when you're a woman in the business, but I think everybody knows it goes along with the whole women's evolution thing right now. That when you have a crowd, okay, so I guess we should just quickly explain what happened. After the match was done, they played a video and they just kind of announced what was going to happen next show. Well, sorry, you explain.
Let me explain here for you. Commissioner Bob Gordon was actually stuck at some meetings at CWC headquarters, and thanks to the geniuses at Backbreaker Media, I don't want to mention any names.
Mike the Ref.
We managed to hook up a satellite feed from Backbreaker Media headquarters in downtown, parts unknown, I believe is what the term we're supposed to use, technically. Bob Gordon goes out, and first thing that he says, based on what he's seen, is he made sure that all the fans gave these ladies a cheer that they deserve because they had a hell of a match.
My heart was warm. I didn't expect it, and I was still, laid out on the side of the ring. So I was still out there, but...
Honestly, how devastating is that cherry clash?
It's not comfy, that's for sure. Especially when you're upside down right before, and all the blood's rushing to your head, and ugh. But it's pretty good. It's pretty cool, actually. I love it. It looks cool, but I mean, I just don't like it.
The interesting part here is, hearing wrestlers saying they enjoy moves. If you're not a wrestling fan, you just don't understand it. So,
well, it's goes along with a lot of things where when you're putting together a match and they want to. Let me just put it this way: there's not a lot of moves that I won't that I'll say no to. Like I can't really think of one at this very moment. I will do anything. I just love. Like, I know it sounds really bad, but I just like to bump. Like, I like to take stuff, and I like to make people look good. And this kind of goes along with what I was going to bring up later, but I guess this might be a good segue, about listening to Becky Lynch on Lillian Garcia's podcast this week. And one of the things Becky brought up was how when she is working, she wants to make the other person look as great as she can, and she wants to look good as well. She says it's very give and take, very give and take. However, she's also ran into more than a few times she's ran into the fact that not a lot of people have that mindset. I feel like I have the same mindset Becky has, in the sense that if my opponent looks really good, I think I'll look really good. I will take anything as long as I know I can for sure take it, and safely. But I think by doing stuff like that, if the match looks great, what do you have to complain about?
Well, it's no different than in a promo. You never just shut down your opponent completely, because if you talk about your opponent being complete garbage, then what's the point of facing them? Because it should be a walk, and if it's anything close, it just brings you down. So in a promo, if you mention how good your opponent is, yet you're going to defeat them, it just makes you look that much stronger. It's sort of the same concept. So.
Well, and that's kind of the thing where I just want to have a good match, no matter who it's against. So all the girls I faced this last week, they were fantastic. So that's all I have to say. And when Bob Gordon had the crowd clapping, my heart was warm, and I felt like crying because it's just still so new to me. So when people appreciate a good match or just something good that we do, my heart's warm.
And then he makes the announcement that October 27th at Headlock of Horrors 3, you get in a tag match, and then you get all pissy again.
Me? Or is that Angelica?
I don't know.
What a hater.
I'm dealing with tag teams that can't stand each other all week at CWC, so I'll just...
Well, we'll see. I'm on the team. We'll win, so it doesn't matter.
But, folks, we've already spent 10 minutes into this podcast, and we haven't even got onto our usual stuff, which is, in my opinion, this is actually a good thing. We got to talk a little bit more about the indie scene when it comes to the women as well. So.
Oh, fantastic, yeah.
But,
a lot of indie girls in that Mae Young Classic, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Segue.
I think we'll go to the Mae Young as part of our main event here on this podcast.
Make it the main event? All right.
Well, trust me, there's a reason I want the main event, and you know exactly why there.
I really don't mind talking about great wrestling as our main event of the show today. So
absolutely. Well, let's sludge through the other stuff.
Should we start with the very low and then start moving back up the mountain?
Well, I think pretty much if you can go straight down the week in terms of wrestling, we pretty much are going to get right where we're going to be. Let's start with Raw.
I think we already know what we're going to talk about first, which I think we should get it out of the way so we can talk about positive things. I wanted to bring up, just because it's everywhere for the last 3 days.
Yeah, we might as well go there on this
one. I wanted to bring it up first, like I said, just so we can get it out of the way. Brie Bella.
Now, I've been flip-flopping back and forth on this whole... If you guys don't know what we're talking about, obviously you don't watch WWE. Let's put it that way. Liv Morgan has sustained a concussion thanks to the yes, no, /it, whatever you want to call it, kicks from Brie Bella. Now, everybody's talking about how reckless Brie is, how she shouldn't be
retire.
in the ring, how retire, how dangerous she is. I got a bit of a different take on this.
The more, because I haven't really had a take. I was kind of on the fence just because I think it's because I have the wrestler bias, and the fact that I've been there. It's hard to say because I let it go until you showed me that one. You made me watch it again. You said, look, she's not. When she hit Liv in the face, she wasn't even looking at Liv. She was looking elsewhere. So that's where it kind of irks me a little wrong, where she wasn't paying attention, and that's where Liv got rocked. But at the same time, I know what it's like to be in the middle of a match and for things to kind of go that way.
Well, here's the thing. Like, even after we talked about a couple days earlier here. We're recording this on Thursday night. I believe we talked about it on Wednesday. I actually went back and watched it earlier today as well. They were repeated kicks. Like, when Daniel Bryan does them, he does them with a little bit of delay in between. Like, there'll be constant kicks, but there'll be a tap, a pause, and then a kick.
Yeah, like reset type deal.
Yeah, a reset. So you stop, reset, hit him again. Brie doesn't do that. She taps and goes repeatedly.
Yeah, so she's just swinging.
Now, the first one, I don't want to say fault because it's wrestling. It happens.
Yes. Yeah.
But I will say there's a little bit of carelessness involved there because if you guys look at the kick, you could see that basically as soon as the kick's made, Brie's looking at the Riott Squad in the corner rather than looking at her opponent. I understand the psychology behind it, that you want to intimidate your corner people. Yes. But if you're not going to take your time on the move, you're being careless enough just to rat-tat-tooey on those kicks. The one that hit her after she got knocked out, it's more about how fast she was doing it. She couldn't stop herself. If you're in that kind of pattern, it takes a little bit of time to recognize that you're actually somebody's actually injured. It's sort of like turning off a Mixmaster or a car or something. The motor's not going to die instantly. It's going to slow down and stop.
Then it's like you said, it's the momentum she had. So the second kick was just it happened. Yeah, it happened. The poor girl didn't do herself any favors since she returned back to the main roster. Every week she's had at least one or two incidences that people are like, oh, it cringe, you know? Well, so she's not doing herself any favors.
She didn't do herself any favors in the match after that.
No. Yeah, that's the one part that caught my attention was afterwards when she rocked Ruby in the face.
She got put into a slingshot by Sarah Logan after Liv Morgan's already been taken to the back during the commercial break. Thank goodness. But Sarah Logan put her in a slingshot, put her in the corner, and Brie Bella just comes up flying with a forearm.
It was like a straight up punch to the mouth.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was a punch to the mouth. And I have never seen, and that was not Ruby Riott we saw with that reaction. That was the human, not the wrestler. And I was, for a split second, I'm like, oh God. She looked like she was about to shoot. Like, I was a little concerned for half a second, but then the professional took over in her, which obviously I didn't expect any less, but I was still not shocked, but the reaction she had after Brie socked her in the mouth, I was just taking a guard on that.
Well, it just speaks to the professionalism, and I know you and I have talked about it more than once, that Ruby Riott is, if not number 1A on that roster in terms of talent right now.
Overall talent, hands down, she has to be number one.
And she's one of those that makes everybody else look good.
Exactly, and I think that's what puts her number one. Like, I put Alexa Bliss probably up there as well, but Ruby makes everyone look good. Everyone, and in my opinion, that's what makes a professional, is that. She has the entire package. So I mean, the whole incident was unfortunate, and I get where people are angry, but I was watching a video Ryan Satin put out about them talking about it, and he says, if you look at it, the people that have the most outrage and the ones that are claiming she needs to retire are the ones that hated them to begin with, her and Nikki. Mm-hmm. And they have a bias already. I'll be honest, I've never really been a fan of the Bella Twins. Never. I've never been a fan. I don't not like them, but I'm not a fan either. That's just the way I've been. I can respect what exposure they brought to women, but I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. You're not going to be a fan of everybody. But as soon as I saw that, I was a little irked just because of the carelessness. But then I realized, you know what? I also have been in that position where I have stiffed somebody by accident like that, but maybe not to that extent. But I have, and you didn't do it on purpose. It's just the adrenaline in the moment. But at the same time, she was careless about it. She wasn't even looking. So
that's the thing. You worry about. You don't expect anybody on that level to stiff somebody else, per quote. There's too much on the line in terms of contracts and in terms of your status in a company. But being careless like that could also be a lack of training, a lack of experience, ring rust as well. And you just don't know. And that's the worst part right now. Hopefully Bree's getting out there a little bit more on the house show circuit and working these things out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this backlash that I'm seeing is similar to the backlash that Sasha Banks got during the Paige injury, which once
people
again,
are quick to jump to it.
It's the same thing.
You need to leave. You need to do that. Yeah.
It's about being dangerous. I understand carelessness and whatnot. There's always blame to go around in different situations. A lot of people say Liv put her head down, which could have been.
Well, she was already knocked out, and then she put her head down
on the first kick.
Oh well, it was kind of down, but her chest was still exposed. But I guess maybe not as much as it could have been.
Well,
but
like I said,
shit happens.
There's a whole bunch of what ifs. The matter of fact is, she got injured, and they got to move on from this because we're a week and a half away from Super Showdown here, so.
Yes.
Hopefully, Liv gets cleared, or else we're going to have a different situation altogether here.
That's the thing. I don't see her being cleared.
No,
I don't. If it's as bad as it looked, like she got knocked out, so I think it's going to be pretty bad. Sorry, I have the hiccups as I'm speaking. I don't think she will. I'll be surprised. I'm just going to say I'll be surprised if she gets cleared for it. Who would they put in there as another person? I'm sure they could find somebody, but still, it would be unfortunate for Liv to miss out because she's been killing it.
As far as I'm concerned, if you could bring up a Nikki Cross and put it in with that group.
That was going to be who I was going to say. She would fit so well. Or I can't really think. There's not really, besides Billy and Peyton, there's no other Australian girls, are there?
Unless they do a 2-on-2 after that.
So kick out Rhonda?
You could place Rhonda in a different matchup, or you could have Bree sit this one out. Very well could have Bree sit this one out. I don't think they would.
No, because they're going to have to address what happened to Liv.
Yeah, if they do.
And they haven't yet. WWE hasn't. So, I mean, it's kind of weird because somebody asked me about that earlier about, someone's like, oh, Ruby's going to get her, or Liv's going to get her receipt later on and blah, 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 blah.
This isn't hockey.
And I'm like, okay, it brings me back to Stone Cold's podcast when he had Bailey on. I'm just going to bring this up because I was listening to it the other week. But Bailey talked about women sending receipts if something's happening. And in my experience, you either get the ones that send it real quick or wait until they realize, okay, this is getting dangerous, send your receipt. I don't think they would ever do that to the Bella Twins because they're the Bella Twins. I could never see Liv getting a receipt back because I think receipts are petty, if I'm honest. But if you're going to send a receipt because someone's being dangerous, then hell yeah, do it.
Yeah, if they're being careless, not dangerous.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Because I've had both. So
As far as I'm concerned, and like I said, I'm not a competitor, but I've been around enough of them. When it comes to stuff like that, if you see it's going to happen on a consistent basis, then of course you're gonna find a way to fix that up. But if it's like if they change, then why bother? That's the thing.
Yeah, I just think that people are overreacting, and like Ryan Satin said on his video, a lot of it's because people just didn't like the Bella Twins to begin with. So it's a fair assumption. A lot of the same people that said Sasha should not wrestle ever again are the ones that hate her.
And
so
basically, it's nothing. Well, I wouldn't say nothing more, but it just sounds like trolls getting more fuel. That's
basically, that's basically it.
But we've spent 10 minutes on that, a lot longer than we really should have. So
Raw, there's really nothing. No, I'm just kidding.
there's actually quite a bit here. Well, let's go with right off the top of the show here when Finn Balor was taking on Jinder Mahal.
Yep.
You got Bayley on one side and Alicia on the other. And
I love Alicia Fox. She puts a smile on my face every time.
She is batshit crazy, and she proves it
I
every
love
time.
It's such an entertaining way, and for them to put her with Jinder, I just want to see her and Jinder win it because of it. That's what I gotta say. I just want them to win the whole thing.
We'll talk a little bit more. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to them in the mixed match challenge next week. Here.
Yes,
it's stupid America. The one thing I want to notice is Bayley here really showing a more aggressive side than what she's ever shown before.
This is what I'm talking about. The Bayley fire that she shows. Someone put up a good thing about this I saw on Twitter, where they were saying that she seemed like she was almost like a Sasha. Like she had that I don't want to call it fire, but she had that twinge, I guess.
That little twinge of evil in her.
Yes, and this is what I said. I think it was on this podcast, right? Where I was saying that I want to see her and Sasha as a heel tag team. God, I would love it because Bayley proved she can be like that tonight. She was being a little, she was being a little shifty. So, and aggressive, man. Aggressive.
And you can be a little shifty like that without going full-blown heel.
Oh, that's true, yeah. But I just want to see her, scowl at everybody for once.
I just like see her being a little more aggressive.
Yeah, the aggressive heel. And that's what I say all the time about these. And like what you just said, 5 seconds ago. You don't have to be, passive and I'm happy to be here to be a face. You can be an intense face and be over Becky Lynch. Case in point.
Exactly. Well,
hello.
We'll be getting to that in hopefully about 10 minutes here or to an hour, somewhere in there. This one was pretty straightforward, and we're going to see it next week in the Mixed Match Challenge once again when Team BNB, which Mr. Corey Graves is absolutely upset about because it's such a simple name, quote unquote.
I love them.
They're going to be involved in the Mixed Match Challenge as well, which we'll talk about the format in a little later on here. But let's go to the other match, and then we'll go to the segment that we had in here. Nia Jax with Ember Moon in her corner, taking on Alicia with Mickey and Alexa in her corner. Not much really to say about this one other than what we said before. Alicia's great. Nia squashed her.
The one thing I have to say, though, and this goes along with SmackDown in the Naomi and Asuka thing. Nia and Ember, a team. Asuka, Naomi, a team. Out of nowhere, they're teams. So it can't be a damn coincidence. Stop teasing me, WWE. Just announce it. God.
Women's tag belts. I know.
And that is
for them.
I didn't watch Raw. I didn't watch Raw live. I had to PVR it because I wasn't home. And I remember you texting me being like, this is it. This is it. You need to turn on Raw. And I'm like, I can't watch it right now. And you're like, no, you need to watch it because you were convinced that Connor's Cure segment or whatever was them announcing the tag titles.
Screw this right now. We might as well get to this right now.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it.
Yes, I was convinced that it was going to be the tag titles coming out until I saw the rolling of the clip for a Connor's Cure segment. Now, this is going on at the beginning of hour 2. 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Mountain, 6 o'clock Pacific.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, well, no, I'm giving out those times for a specific
blah,
reason.
blah. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I love you too.
Just like, keep going. What was the Australian time?
What's the phrase I'm looking for here right now?
Shut up. Love you too, Mike.
Yeah, pretty much.
Carry on, sir.
What it did for me, like, this is the opportune time where people are getting home. They want to watch action.
Yep.
And this is the time where they're flipping 2 channels. I'm sorry, but if you want to keep viewers, you want action at the top of your hour. You do not want a little kid's presentation of belts. I know it's a great cause. Don't get me wrong. But
yeah,
that's not going to keep people to watch your show.
I'm sorry, children, but when you text me and you said you need to watch this because I think it's going to happen, and I said, oh no, it's probably like a breast cancer thing because they give the women for breast cancer month those women's titles.
Yep.
And I was like, no, it's probably going to be like that, but for the kids, because I was being really passive, like I was being really negative about it.
Unfortunately, she's being very realistic about it.
Yeah, and I was like, sorry, kids, but I think that's what's going to happen, as much as of a letdown it is. But to be honest, I probably would have thought that too if I was in the arena and they roll out a thing and there's more than one title underneath a blanket and Stephanie McMahon and Triple H are there and Evolution is a month away. I probably would have thought the exact same thing. So,
well, and on top of that, the other part of this, what position is Steph supposed to be in right now? She's the heel. She's supposed to be the queen heel of Raw.
Yeah,
why is she coming out making a presentation all goody-goody about...
Yeah, they should have had like Big Show do it, because I know he does a lot of that stuff. Or brought out, because Sasha and Bailey did that last week? With the kids?
Yeah.
They walked out with the kids. Had Bailey and Sasha do it again, or something else. Have one of the main faces do it, not Steph, because now people are seeing you do that, and you're all smiling and blah, blah, blah.
I know you want to get the picture in with Steph and Triple H with the $200,000 check. Do that backstage. You got a Raw set for a reason. Seriously, this to me had bad written all over it, even though it is for a great cause.
And I think a lot of it's to do with their for your consideration. Is it Grammy nomination they're trying to get or whatever? No, not a Grammy. Oh my God, Grammys music.
The failed Emmys and
yes, the Emmys.
And now it's going into the People's Choice Awards, which nobody's choosing. Never mind. Sorry,
blah, 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 blah. All right, carry on.
All right,
sorry, kids, I love you.
I think that's going to wrap up. I think that wraps up SmackDown at this point, or Raw at this point.
Yeah, there's nothing else that happened. It was pretty boring. Sorry.
Yeah, well, they still got 3 more weeks to Evolution.
Yep.
And then you got Super Showdown coming up next weekend, which we're going to have to make some predictions there. Hopefully all the matches stay intact there. But that's, I don't know what to say about that. That's rather confusing, interesting all in one.
Well, especially now that Liv is injured, I think it kind of throws the matches up in the air. Well, the Raw match for sure up in the air.
Well, the good thing about these kind of matches, you can throw anybody on either roster in there.
Well, that's true. But I mean, like, they have to have somebody that fits with the Riott Squad because there really isn't anyone
that's true.
On Raw, at least, that would go with them. I mean, you can't really throw... Well, Alexa's injured. Can't really throw her in there right now. And then to throw Mickey or Alicia in there doesn't really make any sense. So they got to find somebody that makes sense.
Yeah, well... The thing is about these bot shows, you can pretty much do anything you want.
Yeah.
Talk about the craziness of Crown Jewel. Thank God we're not covering men's matches in this thing, because that's a confusing thing all in itself.
Oh look, the Rams are winning.
But yeah, we do have the football game in the background here, and yeah, I feel sorry for the Vikings here just after my Bills obliterated them, but oh well.
Look, the Rams, they're still undefeated.
Let's move on to SmackDown now. Right off this actually for me was a rather entertaining SmackDown.
It was interesting.
Interesting, I think, is the best way to put it.
It's the best word to describe SmackDown this week.
So right off the top of the show, we have R-Truth TV with a brand new Carmella.
Yes! Story of the week!
I will let
Story
you
of the
take
week.
this.
Okay, the story of the week for me, like, it doesn't even come close. Sorry, Brie, and your kick mishap. But Carmella dyeing her hair finally was the best thing about this. And let me just say, girl, you look so good. And you look like fire. I love it. She looks so good.
And the fact that they did this just out of the blue face turn for her.
I think that she's been wanting to dye that hair forever. And I don't know why she finally just did it, but she looks good. And her little face turn with R-Truth is the best thing that has happened to SmackDown in a while. Well, not really, because SmackDown has a lot of things good that are going for them right now. But this R-Truth and Carmella talk show was amazing. So good. I loved it.
Absolutely.
The dance party they had, or whatever they called it.
Just
Fantastic.
a random 6-second dance party. That's just...
It reminded me of Christian and Edge's 5-second pose.
Something like that. It just... Wow.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
I loved how it's set up. I love how this team's gelling, and I love how they're moving forward with it. Carmella's being used in the right way.
She has personality for days, and I love when she gets to utilize it, and I'm glad that they brought R-Truth, who is somebody that seems extremely easy to work with and very giving, and that they can feed off of each other. And it's showing. I love it. It's so good.
When you've been working as long as R-Truth has, you have to be easy to work with. So.
Well, he's kind of always been like that, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now it's just... These vignettes he's doing with Carmella are absolutely amazing.
God. I love it. And I remember, so I was listening to Not Sam's podcast today, and he was talking about Carmella and Truth. And I have to agree with something he said. He said, SmackDown is the perfect place for something like this, because you imagine, he basically called Raw the Shield and Strowman show. And how the whole show is kind of centered, or the structure of Raw is basically centered around them. And this kind of goes along with what we were talking about earlier, Mike, how Raw has become extremely predictable. And I know you might want to talk about that later.
Oh, God.
So we'll get to that later. But they said that if R-Truth and Carmella were on Raw, they would be lost for so long. But you give them less than 10 minutes and they shine. But if you were on Raw, they might give them 20. But it's like, no, give them 10 minutes on SmackDown, and it feels like you're like, oh, that was great. SmackDown's unpredictable. What's coming next? Blah, blah, blah. We'll get to that later. But all I'm saying is that they fit in perfect right now, and they're doing a great job, and they make me want to watch SmackDown, and they make me want to watch Mixed Match Challenge. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I saw Carmella, and I believe the word wow came into my head at that point.
She's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on from there to our Days of Our Lives segment of SmackDown. One night in Milwaukee.
All I have to say is why?
I can see where they're going about this. I don't really like the fact that they're using two different family relationship storylines in the same show at the same time, because they're doing another one with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe.
Another using infidelity.
Yeah, well, it could be infidelity. We're speculating that that's what it is. Aiden English has got quote-unquote footage next week. It could be something like Lana wearing a Milwaukee Brewers jersey to a baseball game or something stupid like that.
Well, and I guess that's kind of true in the fact that it would be a little too obvious now at that point about where they're going to go with it. But sorry, go on.
Well, the other thing is it affected a match that happened later on here, which we'll get to that eventually here. But I found that it took away from a match. It created one and took the atmosphere in the crowd took away from the match. So, do we want to go to that match, or do we want to go to the other match that happened before that?
Lana? Or which one are we talking about?
Either we can go with the tag match.
Well,
or do we want to? Well, we might as well talk about Becky and all
yes, we're talking about Lana right now.
Basically, what happened is Becky comes out and says everything that happens on Raw is on SmackDown is my business.
Well, that's
and
true.
Your little infidelity is part of my business, and you should be.
Well, she is the SmackDown Women's Champion now.
No, for Pite's sake. Just because you're the champion doesn't mean you get to snoop into everything into people's lives. You should know that.
Well, I don't, just because I don't care. But
yeah, exactly.
But she can do whatever she wants. The only thing I have to say about it is that I get, like, I'm glad they kind of explained why Becky had a match with her. But at the same time, if they were going to have Becky get, like, a win like that, I would have much rather her done it against somebody that was no name. Especially since I don't want to call it a squash match because it wasn't. But
it was. But
yeah, she beat her pretty quick and pretty easily, it seemed. And all I have to say is I'm not even going to say it. I'm staying positive. But I just have to say, why didn't they pick a no-name? Why did they have to pick Lana? Because we know Lana. Lana is face. They could have just picked a no-name.
Well, one thing there's two things I took out of this. Well, first of all, before you even began, they showed a clip earlier in the day of Charlotte doing a photo shoot and getting attacked by Becky. So they're really trying to push this heel thing on her. And this match did nothing to help that. With the fact that the crowd, instead of booing Becky or cheering Lana, all it was a Milwaukee chant throughout the entire damn match.
Yikes. And see, it's just like, and that's where I would have much rather liked Becky to have faced like a local competitor in this case, rather than, like, it's not just because it's Lana, because I don't think she's, okay, I'm just going to say it. I just still don't like her when she wrestles. I really don't like it. I cringe still. I'm sorry. I know she tries. I say it every time, but I would have much rather had Becky face a local competitor and squash a local competitor rather than a face we know, especially because Becky tried, but even Lana still, like, Lana, you were facing probably the best women's wrestler on the roster right now, and you still looked a little sloppy. Like, there's a problem. But anywho, the thing I thought about, though, when I was watching Becky attack Charlotte backstage? Do you know what I'm going to say?
No, go ahead.
I got flashes of Becky versus Sasha NXT version.
They very well could be taking pieces from that.
Because I saw a thing later on. So if people don't really know because you don't watch NXT, but back in 2015, before Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha got called up to the main roster, Becky and Sasha had like a little feud. And they had one of the one of the most highest rated matches in WWE for women. And they had a takeover match. But before that, Becky and Sasha had a contract signing. And Sasha got the upper hand and she stood on Becky's head, basically, on the contract. So and Becky did that over Charlotte when she attacked her backstage. And I said, oh, that looks like Sasha Becky NXT days. I got a little nostalgic right there.
It very well could have. My take on it is the fact that Lana might not have been the worst choice on this, just for the fact it's also showing that they're trying to circumvent the idea that Lana's life is falling apart right now. Between
I guess
the
that makes
rumors,
sense.
getting killed by the champ, and then next week with this quote-unquote footage that's going to be coming out from Aiden English.
Yeah.
It's not the best. Don't get me wrong, but I still think this is still serviceable.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Moving along.
Let's move on to the tag match that I actually was rather impressed about. You had Asuka and Naomi taking on Mandy and Sonya.
Teams. Tag teams.
With the Iconics at ringside.
The Iconics are the shit. I love them.
Oh,
they are so good.
Can you imagine the pop they're going to get in Australia next week?
I am smiling right now thinking about it, if I'm honest.
Oh, honestly, as much as people think they're annoying, they're supposed to be annoying.
Dude, they're heels. Come on.
If you're booing the hell out of them, yes, I enjoy that immensely. The one thing I took out of this is Naomi and Asuka do have a finishing maneuver together.
I love them.
Those double axe kicks to the head. Basically, the roundhouse kick right to the top of the head, out. And it looks like the team is working like a well-oiled machine.
And it seems, it just makes my heart smile because it seems like Asuka's enjoying herself again.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to see.
She's got herself booked in a good position, and she's not being
boxed up.
She's not being boxed up. She's not being put into a bad storyline where she's going to get put in a corner that she's not going to be able to get out of. So
well, and it kind of comes around to it where if you're having matches and you're enjoying what you're doing, like the product's going to be great. So I think that's where she's at right now. I mean, it may not be in the title contention, but I think she seems to be enjoying herself.
I would agree.
Yeah, and her and Naomi seem to be working okay together, which surprisingly I was kind of like, what the?
If you're going to have Asuka as a face, you're going to have her as like an R-Truth face in a way right now, and that's where she's at. She's not, just because of her stereotype right now in being an Asian wrestler, doesn't know the language completely. She's not playing it up to be a bad part of her in terms of her character. But she's just that one that gets along with Naomi really well, as much as and they communicate as well as they need to.
Yeah.
And when she needs to turn it up, she does. And that's what really matters. So.
Well, I mean, you got Naomi, who's like right now, her character's one of the nicest people on the roster, hardest working, and I think to Asuka that's commendable.
And one of the best pure athletes on the roster.
Oh, guaranteed, yeah. I think they could definitely do this well because you have Naomi, who's a ring vet. She's been around for a long time. She can make people look good. And you got Asuka, who's a freaking crazy good wrestler. It's a winning combination in my mind.
Absolutely. So that wraps up Raw and SmackDown for this week. Any real solid takeaways going into next week and going into Super Showdown?
I guess this goes along with our predictions we're probably going to do later on, whenever that is.
Next week.
Yeah, that was going to be my only question is who did you think was going to walk away with it? Iconics, the hometown heroes, or Asuka and Naomi? Stay tuned.
We'll give our predictions next week. I don't want to give anything away too quickly.
We'll see what develops in the next week because a lot, I think, might happen.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of things coming up a week, we're a week behind, but hey, Mixed Match Challenge.
The Mixed Match Challenge.
Wow, we finally get a chance to see it.
You go first.
I like bits and pieces of it, but I do realize that this is a Facebook exclusive. They do a few good things on it, but they also do a few crazy things on it, like just the complete cutaway to the back where you have teams that are coming out next week.
Just sitting there on their phones.
Quote unquote, in the comment section. Which, all right, great. They're back there. Do a little cutout, but we want to see what's going on in the ring.
Basically, yeah.
Well, let's go to the matches at least so we can we can talk about those a little bit more positively here. You had Braun Strowman and Ember Moon taking on Kevin Owens and Natty.
Interesting.
Your thoughts?
It was interesting. I didn't really like the match part. I mean, I get the psychology, but it was still entertaining. It was pretty funny. I mean, Kevin, he always does a great job. Ember, though, was my little bit of a wild card in the match because she had a little bit of a... She didn't seem like the typical Ember we've been seeing on Raw since she debuted. She seemed intense. She seemed a little bossy. She seemed... Intense is just really the main word I can use here. Like, she didn't seem as passive as she's kind of been showing on Raw, and I liked that.
Well, the one thing I can say about everybody in this episode is you're seeing them sort of out of character. One way or the other, either more intense or less intense, depending on the character that was involved. Like, in here, you see Ember a lot more intense.
In control.
In control, a little more vicious. You have Kevin Owens really playing up the fact that he likes to trash talk Strowman.
So good.
Oh, it was amazing what he did there.
And it kind of goes along with, well, actually, it was shown a little bit more in the next match, not in this match, but it goes along with what I really, really loved about the Mixed Match Challenge last year, which is carried over to this year, is the fact that the talent seems so free to do what they want.
It's almost as if they've gone out there and just created okay, here's the schedule, winner. You guys have 20 minutes. Go nuts.
Basically, and I love it. And you can see it on their faces. They're genuinely enjoying themselves, and they want to be there. They're not just there because they said, hey, you're teaming up with Naomi tonight. Here, have fun. Or here, you have to do this. They seem like they're genuinely there to have fun. And I like that. I love to see that because it translates to good matches people want to watch.
Yeah, well, the majority of this match, you had Natty taking control over Ember. Then all of a sudden, I would say one of my highlights is you had Natty have Ember in the sharpshooter. She tries to get to the rope. Natty pulls her back. Strowman just grabs her, pulls her over the corner.
No option but to break.
No option but basically, I think Natty got flipped forward out of it. Immediately, Strowman tags himself in and just lays waste to Owens.
I loved it.
There was no
nonsense at all.
No fooling around, just going nuts.
I loved it.
All of a sudden, Ember tags back in. The women are in charge. And Ember's trying to set up something in the corner. Strowman's not really sure what's going on, which is actually pretty smart for the fact that they've only been together for a couple days. But all of a sudden, randomly out of the blue, Ember turns around and says, look out behind you. And Strowman hits one of his Kane-esque right hands into Owens.
And out.
Knocks him out. And then Ember goes on top of Strowman and hits the Eclipse off of Strowman onto Natty. I don't know if that's the best move to pull off here. I know if it works perfectly, it would look great. But I think with the unknown of, I don't know how much they practiced it, but it looked like Ember got more forward and down rather than up, and she needs that elevation to get that springboard in there.
The only thing I didn't like about it, because it looked good, don't get me wrong, I liked that they're team working and whatever. The only thing I don't like is that Alexa basically did the exact same thing with her finisher with Braun last year.
And the thing is, I like that for the fact that she's taking over for Alexa.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense then if you're thinking about it like that. But I feel like they probably could have initiated it better. Maybe they'll do it next match. But that's all I could think of was, Alexa totally did this with Braun last year.
And the one thing we can mention right now that this is pretty much a New Japan style bracket that they set up. They have the Raw block, the SmackDown block with 5 teams each. And the winners of each side face off at TLC in the finals.
I like that they did round robin. More matches, more fun. I love it.
And the fact that you don't have to have a one and done with these guys. They can actually develop some chemistry here. So
yeah, maybe even develop a little bit of a storyline. I just like that they're doing it this way rather than, single elimination. Show us what you got. Because you might be a little disappointed. Like, for example, tonight. If Natty and Kevin were eliminated tonight, I'd be a little disappointed. I'd be like, I feel like I'm left with some questions here. I want to see them go again.
There's one little point in this match that there was one point tonight where something that happened in this match is going to affect what happens in the next match. I'll get to that in a second here, but let's get into, you had that Eclipse for the win, so Braun and Ember Moon are 1-0, where Team Canada is down to 0-1 right now. But
poor Canada.
Yeah, Canada always gets neglected, but I digress. Your match from the SmackDown side, you had Charlotte Flair and AJ Styles taking on Jimmy and Naomi Uso. And
Naomi Uso.
Wow. Sister, brother, whatever.
Oh, my God.
Hey, they're the husband and wife team. Come on now.
Oh, God. I love it.
You want to talk about 4 people that just shit, let's go have some fun and
Yeah.
go at it.
It was emulated. It was showing. I love it.
None so more evident than the point I was making in the last match. Now, anybody that knows Natalya knows she has her cat ears, which Kevin Owens conveniently placed inside the turnbuckles, on top of on the first turnbuckle, and left them there. Mr. Uso finds them halfway through the match, decides putting them on his head would be most appropriate, so he did.
It was great.
All the other three just killed themselves laughing seeing this. And that's something I like to see.
It was great, yeah.
They're all supposed to be faces in this match.
And they were.
And they acted like it.
It was great. Charlotte trying to twerk and the immediate regret
my.
on her face after she did it was fantastic. I loved it. It was great.
There were so many fun spots in this match. Like the random tag in by Naomi tagged Jimmy in, and automatically that means the guy comes in. So Charlotte is down on all fours. AJ just comes in and uses Charlotte as a springboard to hit the phenomenal forearm rather than, just having the jump there.
I loved it.
Random stuff out of the blue.
You don't see a guy being the one that's jumping. Usually it's vice versa, so I really liked that.
But that's the thing, when you have somebody like Charlotte, she can take that kind of move and help out with it.
It was, I liked it because I think it just showed the chemistry they have and the trust anyways. But yeah, no, I liked it. I liked the finish was my favorite part. So well thought up. Well, I loved it.
There was one other spot that I found absolutely hilarious before we get to the finish. We had AJ Styles was going after Naomi, trying to get her off of ring. There was a big cluster on the side, and he was just trying to get her away. But unfortunately, AJ grabbed a little high as he was pulling her back.
Oh, and he lost his mind, yeah.
And Jimmy absolutely lost his you-know-what. What the hell am I talking? What's explicit here? He lost his shit.
He lost his mind.
About this, and they end up arguing back and forth. And all of a sudden, Charlotte says to heck with this and does a springboard punch over the top.
Onto both. It was great.
Onto both of them. It was hilarious. But
I loved it.
I'll let you get into the finish of this.
Oh, my God. It was I just really like well thought out finishes that take effort. I have appreciation for when you can tell that they really thought of it. Not to critique the first match, but it was a pretty straightforward finish, nothing complicated. You go into this and there was tag after tag after tag after tag, and then a finish. I loved it. The one part that got me that I really loved was when Naomi hit her rear view on AJ. That's where I popped.
A little bit of revenge there for earlier in the match.
Yeah, I popped at that.
But that actually ended up being the demise because
distraction.
As soon as she hit the rear view, AJ goes out of the ring. Charlotte hits the big boot.
Yep.
And then goes into. It took a little bit of work because she got the legs backwards, but she eventually got the figure 8 in.
You can't be the queen all the time, Charlotte.
Well, sometimes,
unless you're Becky.
Oh my. That's the other thing we want to get into here just before we move on to the Mae Young Classic.
Yep.
Your thoughts about Charlotte being beat down in the final segment of SmackDown that week and then coming out for the second match of the Mixed Match Challenge?
Yeah, so obviously we're talking about the Mixed Match Challenge, these matches a week late. So last week when this match happened was when Becky and Charlotte had their little segment and Becky ended up beating the crap out of Charlotte and was being left. And that was in the main event slot. Mixed Match Challenge happened pretty much right after SmackDown. And Charlotte was okay. The one thing I really liked, though, was that the announcers did address that when AJ and Charlotte came out. They said, I hope from, the events of earlier tonight. And they did show a replay of Becky putting Charlotte in the armbar in that main event segment and so on and so forth. So I'm glad they addressed it. They didn't just try and pass it by, hoping that the audience forgot, because I certainly did not forget. But yeah, I just didn't like that. If they were going to have Becky beat her down, maybe they should have done it in the opening segment of the show, not the main event where Charlotte's wrestling less than an hour later. It's half an hour later, and she just got the crap beat out of her.
Try 20 minutes.
Yeah, basically. Because I think, they were the second match. So basically, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, she was out there wrestling like nothing happened.
Yeah, and to me, if she would have sold the shoulder a little bit.
Yeah, taped it up or something. Yeah.
She was in the disarmor for a bit there and beat down. I can get without the tape or whatnot. Just
something to address it, yeah.
Sell that you're actually hurt a little bit.
Yeah, she seemed completely fine. And that was the only thing that I had to say that was a negative. And it was so tiny that it didn't really bother me. But I thought about it.
But if you're watching the Mixed Match Challenge as a one-off on its own, if you're just on Facebook watching, you're not even going to notice the difference. So basically,
but because we noticed it, it just stuck out. So I'm like, wait, didn't Becky just beat the crap out of you 20 minutes ago? Whoops.
Yeah, pretty much.
All I got to say is, damn, girl, you did a quick wardrobe change. Good for you.
Yeah. That's the
Good for you. She must have sprinted to the back after Becky took her out of that submission hold.
Yeah, I would guess so. But next week, we're going to have another 2 matches on this Mixed Match Challenge. Now we know why we have 2 matches per week, and it makes perfect sense.
I love it.
They're doing 2 matches a week. It's going to be 10 weeks because there's 5 teams in a round robin, which will be 10 matches. Yes, I did the math in my head already.
Yay. Good for you.
And the finals, the winner of each bracket is going to go on to meet in the finals at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs in December. So
are they doing straight up? Like they're not doing like a semifinals then finals? They're just taking the top 2 of each?
I'm pretty sure they're doing it New Japan style.
Okay, I'm not sure how they're doing it, but I like the round robin idea, though. I really like it. More matches, you get to see more. I love it.
Mr. Botch Cole, Michael Cole here right now, which we're starting to think more and more based on some of his commentary that he's looking to get a little break right now. He did mention that it was just a round robin and then the finals are a TLC, so we might get a little bit more going on depending on what comes up here, and maybe we'll get some ties so that we have to have a wrestle off or whatnot.
Maybe that's true.
We'll see what happens.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, all I have to say is I'm really sad that Sasha's injured.
Yeah, next week it's going to be Bobby Lashley and Mickey as a team.
I don't hate it, but I'm just disappointed that Sasha's injured. Not because she's really missing the Mixed Match Challenge, because I didn't really like that they put her with Bobby to begin with. But in general...
Yeah, but Leo Rush is out there, man.
Oh, is he out there?
He'll be out there.
Okay. Yeah, because we haven't watched this week because we don't have it yet, Canadians.
Yeah, stupid on Facebook watch.
Damn. I mean, but then I'm really excited to see... Because Jinder and Alicia were also this week.
No, Jinder, that's
this
who their
week.
opponents are next week.
So I'm excited to watch them. Especially after what they did with Finn and Bailey this week. I'm like, I want to see them.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a time. So, but speaking of a hell of a time,
it's main event time.
Classic. They definitely saved the best for last here.
It was a good episode.
Absolutely.
The best wrestled episode.
I would say definitely the best wrestled episode of the 4. You had one match that you look all over the internet and you're hearing that it is the match of the tournament so far. And then you had the prohibitive favorite in the main event slot that showed why she is one of the odds-on favorites to win this tournament here.
Absolutely. That's all I got to say for now.
But you know what? Because how good that match was to start off this show, I think we're going to go a little reverse order.
Save it for last. We start with the main event, go up top.
Well,
the real main event.
The other thing about this is, I know we had a little different opinion about this, so we might as well get this going early here. Io Shirai versus Xia Brookside.
Okay, so this was the main event.
This was the last match on the card.
I know why they put this match main event, because Shirai... So we were talking about this earlier and how I didn't know much about her. So I did Google her a few months ago when I saw her name when she got assigned initially before the Mae Young thing came about. and how they compared her and Asuka to Sasha and Bailey. How her and Asuka were the Sasha and Bailey of Asia, or Japan, I guess, essentially. And how when Asuka got signed, they signed the Sasha to her Bailey. And that was a perfect analogy because honestly, I could see Shirai like kind of wrestles a little bit like Sasha, and I would really like to see her face Sasha. And she's a great wrestler. I get why they put her with Zaya. And that was the first time I've actually seen Brookside wrestle.
Well, Zaya, she is the youngest competitor in the tournament.
She didn't look like it, though.
She didn't look like it. She didn't act like it.
No, she wrestled maturely.
She did everything she could, but I found this to be a bit of a squash more than
yes,
all
it was
the others.
definitely, yeah.
Throughout the event, you would see most of the people that were losing in the first round get a fair bit of offense in, just to show that they could compete with everyone.
Yes.
And to me, I didn't see that here.
I think a lot of it's because they wanted to establish Shirai now as a threat, but they could have done it in like a better way. But I get why they did it. They needed to make her look like a monster, and they did. And Mrs. Brookside, she definitely sold her ass off. Props to the girl.
Amen. It was a hell of a finish with that moonsault. Honestly,
I felt the pain through the TV.
Yeah, like Shirai got Brookside right in the gut with her knees. I don't care if this is wrestling or if it's shoot fighting. You get 2 knees to the stomach, your wind's going out and you're staying down for a while.
It was devastating. Well executed, but devastating nonetheless. When she hugged her dad at ringside, oh God, I felt the tear coming up.
I think pretty much everybody was tearing up at that point.
When his clapping, he was proud. Oh.
For the first 5 minutes of the match, they were going to still shots of him in the crowd. Wow.
God, it was a tearjerker.
Oh, amen. But before that, let's go into Isla Dawn and Nicole Matthews.
I was shocked that Isla Dawn didn't win. She gained a new fan in me. I'll be honest. I knew what Nicole Matthews could do already, but Isla Dawn, that was the first time I watched her wrestle a singles match, and I was impressed. That girl can sell for days.
Now Isla is more of the technical, and I would think she'd want this match to be a lot quicker. Mm-hmm. But Matthews is definitely the powerhouse.
Slowed it right down.
There is a reason that she is called the Shimmer Taker in many areas, and still is the conscience in many promotions. Yes, Spencer, she still is the Shimmer Taker.
Yes, Spencer. Hi, Spencer. We miss you. Not really.
If you check out Spencer's Twitter account, you'll know exactly what we're talking about here. But the one thing I was impressed with was the finish. Good old Canadian finish with the Lion Tamer a la Chris Jericho for the tap
Canadian
out victory.
with a Canadian move. I love it.
It's not the sharpshooter for once either.
Yeah, Beth. No, wait, was that? No. Who said it was the Boston Crab?
Beth called it a Boston Crab.
Okay.
Which,
Beth.
That's the complaint that we've had throughout the whole thing, but you know what?
How dare you, Beth?
Let's not take away from the fact. I know Renee Young and
you're
Beth
married
Phoenix,
to a Canadian, Beth.
You had
Renee. You're Canadian.
No, okay, give it up.
Canadian. Can you tell I'm Canadian?
Just a bit,
Hey-o.
but it's more the fact that you have Beth Phoenix and Renee Young sounding so familiar. On commentary, you couldn't tell which one, but either way. They called it a Boston Crab, which I'm pretty sure somebody was in her ear about that because you had Michael actually call this one perfectly with the Lion Tamer.
He did, yeah,
because she had the knee right across the neck, holding her down. There was no way she was getting the rope to tap out.
She did it well too. It looked really good,
and she's got the perfect frame for it too, with the long legs and whatnot.
Power.
It looked amazing.
It did.
Isla Dawn is one of the most proficient wrestlers to come out of the UK, out of Scotland. And if you guys get a chance to check her out on Progress, I definitely recommend you do that as well. And I do believe she's going to be a part of the NXT brand, but I'm not 100% sure.
The UK NXT brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she's part of World of Sport, but I think she's part of the NXT UK brand. So you can be one
I
or
would
the
suspect
other.
she shall be after this match.
I would say so.
If she isn't already.
She put a hell of an effort in there. So
Sold her butt off.
now, we had a breather match after the first match. Thank God. Somebody that you became a big fan of, Jessie Elleben.
Oh my gosh. The second I saw her promo package, I'm like, hey, do you want to be my friend? I fell in love. She's been wrestling for what they said, a year and a half. She got signed a year and a half ago. She's been training ever since in the developmental center. I need to Google her more because I have no idea where she came from. But I love her character. It's so different, and she's just so peppy and positive. Like it reminds me. I said it reminded me of Bailey, but she seems. What's the correct word I should be using here?
To me, it's
not as naive, but just happy to be here.
To me, it looks like she's just more of really thrilled to be there.
Yeah, happy. Happy to be here, but not naive.
Enjoying the moment. She's learning how to get better, but she just isn't there yet.
Yeah.
And she was taking on Tainara Conti, who was part of the tournament last year.
Yep.
And she's part of the NXT brand now. You could see that she developed a real vicious side in this matchup and developed herself really as a heel.
Oh, she was vicious.
Absolutely
I
vicious.
loved it.
You would.
It was great. I was already a fan of her before. I watched her on NXT, but this match caught my eye more than her previous. I don't know why. Maybe it was just some of the stuff she was doing, or maybe it's because Jessie was so like entertaining to me. But man, when she was like dragging her hand or her like fingers across that top rope,
she reminded me a lot of Zack Sabre Jr. and Pete Dunne with the joint manipulation she was doing in that match.
It was good.
That raking of the webs of her fingers across the top rope, that looked absolutely vicious.
Cringe.
But her finish, that crucifix into a Uranagi slam, to me, that's innovative. I haven't seen anybody pull that out.
She pulled out some stuff that I haven't seen really in a while or at all. So I liked it.
Absolutely. And
there's only up from here, girl.
Yeah, well, Conti's been around on the house show circuit of NXT.
Long time.
And she's gotten a few spots on TV, but I think she's about to erupt into that next level, I got a feeling.
I think she could be a good competitor for our current NXT Women's Champion. But I think she still needs to develop a little bit, but she showed she could definitely be a heel to the face of Kairi-san.
Absolutely. If Singh can get past Baszler at Evolution, which...
Ditto. But that's a month away. Who knows what can happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Things could go all over the place at that point. But let's get to what we could... Well, I think we both can agree. This is the match of the tournament so far.
And I mean, we're not just saying it because we're biased, but it was really good.
Folks, anybody that's listened to this network knows what kind of bias I have. One of the wrestlers in this matchup, I'll throw it out there right now. She's my favorite wrestler. Seen her from day one. Sorry, present company excluded, of course.
Who?
But in this match here, I think it was another statement that she made as to why she is one of the best wrestlers not signed to WWE right now. And that's Rachel Evers / Ellering taking on Hiroyo Matsumoto, also known as the Lady Godzilla.
It was good.
Oh, this match here. Folks, if you get a chance to see one match out of the first round, this is the match you got to see.
Oh, it must.
Going into the first 5-7 minutes of this match, you were looking like it was going to be an absolute squash for Matsumoto.
Yep.
She was taking full control of this matchup, using her power. Rachel's a powerful woman, but she's got nothing on Matsumoto here just because of the sheer size that she has.
I feel like they definitely complemented each other. It was hard-hitting, powerful, but also very technically well wrestled.
Well, the spots back and forth, that missile drop kick off the top rope by Matsumoto and Evers.
I felt it.
Like, it got her square, and it looked like it was a lot closer than what it was supposed to be. But
it was great.
It just made the sound just that much bigger. But then you get into the classic Rachel spots where there's a lot of... Yeah, I'm sorry.
Mike was over here calling everything. He's like, oh, I think she's about to do it. Here we go.
She's going to hit this. There we go. Hit this. Yeah, I could see a lot of the stuff that she's pulling out here. One thing I saw was the cycle or the bicycle kick into the arm rather than into the chest on a couple moves. Like when Matsumoto was going for a clothesline, she would counter with a boot to the arm to block it.
It was great.
Rather than just trying to block her with her hand. Much more effective.
Cooler.
Early in the match, one thing I like is the fact when somebody's going for a move, if somebody's trying to throw you up for a gut wrench suplex, what are you going to try and do?
Block it.
You're going to try and block it.
Yeah.
So she was trying to do it. Matsumoto was blocking it. She had to throw a couple extra shots, but then she got it in. And that's the kind of story you like to tell in a wrestling match, that it's not a paint by numbers. You hit this button on the controller and automatically this move's going to happen.
You are trying to win.
You're trying to win and you're trying to go at it hard.
Yep.
And the one point where we saw the crowd pop immensely.
Oh, it popped the hell out of me, I'll tell you that much.
Matsumoto throws Evers into a German suplex. Yep. And Rachel just pops right up.
It was almost like she just rolled straight through it and pops up like a daisy. And the look on her face, on both of their faces actually, was, just perfect.
Basically, I call that the you dumb fucked up look. You
fire.
Just did this and you just, you're getting it now. And just the viciousness out of both of them at the end of that match. It ended up with what Michael Cole called the rock drop from Matsumoto. Essentially, it's a Saito suplex.
Was it a rock drop? Is that what he called it? I can't remember.
That's what Cole called it.
Right.
For the 1, 2, 3. I'm still going to say Rachel's foot was underneath the rope, but that's just me.
You would.
Yeah, I would. But
it was, though. Rematch.
You know what? Right now, Rachel's over in Japan with the Stardom 5-Star Tour and doing a phenomenal job. The only loss I've seen her have right now is to the person that eliminated her in last year's Mae Young Classic, Kimberly. In what I heard was a fantastic match there as well. But she's had a lot of victories there, and she's doing really well in that tournament. So if you guys get a chance to check it out, it's I believe it's stardom.com, and I think it's only like $6 a month for a membership. A lot of tremendous Japanese wrestling there, so make sure you check that out if you can.
Check it out. Plug it.
Oh, I'm a plug machine. What can I say?
Oh, you're good at that. That's fine.
So, first round is all done.
Yeah.
What impressed you the most outside of the match that I just went on about for about 5 minutes there?
What or who?
What, who, anything.
You know, I just really like good wrestling. So I don't care who's in the ring, but good wrestling. And we saw a lot more. I don't think there was any bad match. Obviously some where we're like, like a squash or like, but even the squash matches like tonight, for example, with poor Xia Brookside getting squashed. Even that match, it wasn't a terrible match for a squash match. Even though it was a squash. I hate squash matches. I'm just going to put it out there. I get why they do it. Still hate them. But besides that, like, the stories that we got out of the first round. Caitlyn's return. She looked solid. So crisp. I loved it. We had Toni Storm's comeback after she lost before the final, or in the semifinals of last year. What other stories did we have?
We had Tegan Knox returning from her knee surgery.
Yes.
Well, let's not get into
poor
get
girl.
into the bad stuff.
But so far, she's got a little bit of a redemption. She looks great. There's some people you would have never in 100 years expected to see in a WWE ring. Even though it's technically NXT, WWE regardless. Like, for example, Nicole Matthews tonight. Probably would have never expected to see her in a ring.
And then see somebody that, 5 years ago you would never see near WWE in a person like Zusi.
Yeah.
So the Mexican wrestler going on to the next round here to take on Io Shirai. So that's going to be interesting. The advancement of Mae Young into the second round.
Oh. Who would have ever thought, I still want to call her Sienna, but who would have ever thought we would see Allison Kay in a WWE ring? Not that she doesn't deserve to be there, but I'm just saying, like, just because who would have thunk?
Absolutely, and Mae Young now has officially been signed to the WWE.
Yay! That was announced today, right?
And I believe she's making her debut coming up
this weekend.
It's actually this Saturday in Florida for a TV event.
Yeah, an NXT live event, I think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely there. And
hello, girl. Yeah, I'm so proud.
But the entire cast of characters here in the first round, like, we had our stereotypical matches. We've talked about them, especially in episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But
David versus Goliath.
But at the same time, there's pretty much every match here. The person who lost in the first round got enough in that if you were going to send out a highlight tape,
you look good.
You could see most of this match saying that you performed well enough that you deserve X or Y spot somewhere else. So.
Yep. Absolutely.
The exposure all these girls got. I know last year there were a few hiccups in a few matches. This one ran a lot smoother than what we saw last year. I
honestly don't really have any complaints. It was great. I liked it.
We're gonna see the first. I believe it's the first 4. I think we're gonna get 4 matches next week in the round of 16.
Couldn't tell you. I haven't spoiled myself.
Well, I from what I remember last year, they still did the 4 and 4 the next 2 weeks, and then they start slowing it down because we got 3 weeks till Evolution. So we got we got to speed this up here and
that's so exciting.
Get all these matches in. It's going to be a phenomenal time. And who would you say is the favorites going to the final right now?
I'm still picking. Well, I said one of the Japanese girls is going to be in there with Toni. I'm still going to... I honestly haven't spoiled myself. I'm biased because Toni is like my Rachel for you, so...
Look at next week. We got Hiroa Matsumoto, who just took out Evers, going up against Toni Storm.
Woo! I'm so excited to watch that.
That is going to be insane.
Yeah, it'll be good. Pop. I love it.
You're going to go with Toni Storm there?
Yeah, like I said, she's my Rachel Evers, Ellering, whatever you want to call her. Sorry, Rachel. But yeah, whatever you want to call it, Toni is still probably my favorite wrestler. And then, well, in this tournament, my favorite wrestler. Yeah, I'm still going to pick, even though Io Shirai, right? Is that, did I butcher it? Io. God, oh my God, there's so many names. I'm so sorry. Io Shirai, she really impressed me. Her intensity was next level. So, but I still think Toni versus any of the Japanese or Chinese girls in the final.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet here. And the fact that they showcased Io the way that they did this matchup here, while it wasn't a squash, it was a domination.
Yeah.
If you want to call it either way there. That to me shows me that she's going to be one of the favorites going to the final here. So
yeah, having that established match so quickly like that, yeah.
But that's going to wrap up. I think that's going to wrap up this week in women's wrestling. We've almost gone an hour and a half today. This is good.
A lot of wrestling.
Well, let's put it this way. That's it in the WWE. wait until this either the Mae Young or the mixed match is over. I'm going to get her into Impact Wrestling here, folks.
Yeah, I need to get back on the train. I fell off of it like 6 months ago, so I need to get back on now that my favorite, besides Tony, my favorite independent wrestler is signed to Impact right now. So I guess she's not really that independent, but she's still independent, technically.
We'll get into that. The independent contracts when it comes to Impact Wrestling are rather interesting, so...
Let's just say my favorite non-WWE lady,
yeah, that's the
Tessa
best.
Blanchard, is with Impact, so I got to get back into it. She's the champ.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've tried to keep up, but I haven't watched a lot of the non-Tessa stuff in Impact, so we got to get up there.
Yeah, we'll get into that, and we're going to start talking a little bit outside of WWE, but there's so much content inside WWE right now that we have to get through here. We don't want to make this a 3-hour podcast, so...
Well, once we have... mixed match and Mae Young gone, we have an empty slot.
Well,
how should we fill it?
We got till Christmas with the mixed match challenge, but
that takes like 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna have the comedy spots of the night, though. We're gonna have to cover.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But before we go, before we get our plugs in about what's going on here, I want to give a special shout out here. The announcement was made yesterday that. Former Alberta wrestler Giselle Shaw got signed with the WOW promotion in California, the Women of Wrestling Superstars. She's going to be known as Reva.
I think that was it.
The Princess of the Philippines.
Yeah.
Sorry, Reina. That's what it was. Reyna.
Oh yeah, right. It has a Y.
The Princess of the Philippines. Anybody who hasn't seen Giselle Shaw work, they are in for a treat because she's
pretty good.
She is an absolutely great talent. She did most of her work here in Alberta under the PWA brand. She did some work earlier in her career in RCW. A lot of her work, including matches with Rachel, of course. That was one of the biggest rivalries while both of them were here. Some absolute fantastic matches were involved in that. So. Congratulations, and I hope to see some other wrestlers there very soon as well from around here.
Who?
But anyway, speaking of seeing wrestlers around, I believe you're doing some work this weekend.
Am I?
Well, you're wrestling. Your counterpart is wrestling
yes,
this weekend.
Yes, she is. My twin is wrestling in Lethbridge this weekend for PPW.
Yeah, it's the PPW 100 show from the German Cultural Center in Lethbridge. And this show is so special, they're even hauling me down to do commentary for the show. So this is going to be an interesting event here. I believe I'm working with Bulldog McBain on this one. And, yeah, that's going to be an interesting experience once again getting terrorized by the Bulldogs. So.
Yeah.
But your twin, Envy, is going to be taking on that rapscallion Angelica. Is that the way you called her before the show?
What?
That murderous.
I like Angelica. My twin does not.
Something about
they don't see eye to eye.
Something about popcorn and pizza sheets. And,
yes, no popcorn will be harmed, as far as I know, this weekend.
Well, it's a German Cultural Center. Are we going to see some Wiener Schnitzel flying? Or?
Oh my God! Or beer.
Well.
Woo! Yeah.
Beer abuse? That's not a
I'll
good
drink half of it first.
Then give it to Envy and then have her hit it with it?
Yeah, exactly. You got to throw it.
Oh, okay.
If it's a bad beer, then I don't really care. They can have it. But yes, Envy will be facing Angelica.
Wait, there's bad beer?
Yes, unfortunately, there are some bad beers out there.
All right. Well, I'll take your word for that.
What we had today was not one, though. That was a pretty good one, so...
For those that are in northern Alberta, make sure you check out Fall Fever with the PWA this weekend. They are also having a mixed tag match. Whew. The mixed tag match involving Kat Von Hees and her partner, the Line Warrior, I believe some people call them Dingleberries, Bobby Sharp. But
Dingleberries.
You got to get to the show to find out what's going on there. Taking on the two newcomers in Barry Grayson and then Zoe Sager. I've heard a lot of good things about Zoe following her first match against Kat Von Hees. Want to see what happens here when she gets the team up with another newcomer in Barry Grayson. That should be a very interesting match. And I know Andre C., Spencer Love, and all those guys are going to be all over quick calls for that.
Spencer Love.
He gets around. As long as his vehicle works. But that's... Well, right now I heard some reports that he's on the highway coming around right now. But we're going to have quick calls from Lethbridge. We're going to have quick calls from Edmonton. And then starting Monday, we're going to have the beginning of our brand new fall lineup with Monday Night Shaw, with RCW ring announcer extraordinaire and special correspondent to the Archer Report, Kyle Shaw, as he interviews Dirty Mike Jones, the manager of Dirty Inc.
What a great human Kyle Shaw is.
Yes, he is. He's a very, very well-liked human, and that's why I agreed to have him on the network. And then coming up on Tuesday, this episode's been in the can since December, the debut of Total Nonstop Anarchy, where I'm making Andre C. watch every single TNA pay-per-view from the last Monday Night Raw, which will be the episode that's coming up on Tuesday. Him and I cover the Raw Nitro simulcast that ended the WCW, all the way through the World Wrestling All-Stars, which is basically the feather promotion that went in between TNA and WCW. And then he gets into the weekly pay-per-views, which, it's going to be ugly, folks. I'll tell you that.
Wait, so you guys are watching every TNA pay-per-view made?
Back when TNA started, they were weekly 2-hour pay-per-views. And he's going to be going through all 103 of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is he doing one a show?
I'm not sure. I've let him take care of that.
Wow.
Let's just say this.
Damn, that's some dedication.
Well, it's also some sacrifice, because trust me, if you've watched any of these, have you ever watched a TNA show? The old ones.
Well, it depends how old.
Like 2002, 2004?
Then no.
Oh.
I didn't start watching TNA until about 2009.
You definitely need to contact Andre and get involved in this.
Yeah, I started watching when they developed their women's division. And then I stopped in like 2012.
You're going to have to watch this, because you're going to... We will never talk about bad wrestling ever again, ever since you see this stuff.
Okay.
Folks, you're definitely in for a treat here. So, but
all right then.
Next week we got the wrap-up shows to Super Showdown.
Yes.
Episode 2 and 3 of the Mixed Match Challenge. Maybe we'll do this late enough. We might actually see the 3rd episode. Who knows?
Yeah, it depends when we get to the office, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. And then of course, we're going to have the beginning of the round of 16 for the Mae Young Classic. So,
woo!
It's going to be a hell of a week, but we're actually wrapping this show up a lot earlier than normal time-wise. We're an hour and a half in, but normally this is a lot later in the evening. So,
yeah, I could actually get to bed on time for once.
Yeah, well, go figure.
Or just more time to play the new Tomb Raider game.
Yeah, but that's also a very good option. Unfortunately, she's got a PS4, so...
I've been playing nonstop since it came out, so I almost beat it. I'm close.
And I'm still playing Back to the Future from Telltale. It's like 3 years old, but it was free, so it's all good.
Free is good. Free is good, as we know.
But anyway, you want to plug your stuff? Because I'm sure people really want to listen
totally.
to this.
On Instagram and Twitter, it's Kayla Jamies.
And I want to give a shout-out here, Two Baked Hands podcast. Listen to us a lot. Share us out. Win Column Sports, they do a hell of a lot for us.
All my boys.
Yeah. If you want to get a hold of us, all the stuff's going to be in the show notes. Backbreaker Media. Don't need the A because we're Canadian A.
A.
And then, if I can just score a touchdown. But
damn, my poor
that,
Rams. What the...
I think we're going to have to wrap this up here because I think KJ's getting a little upset. So on behalf of KJ Cash, this is Mike the Ref saying, if you're going to have a false finish, always make sure you're going to have a good double down. And this is the Double Down podcast here on Backbreaker Media.
Okay, you can play my music now.